Today we're going to learn about how to solder. The first type of soldering you can see here is edge to surface. The Cornell notes are linked underneath. Our essential question for this soldering type is describe how edge to surface soldering might be beneficial to understand in the creation of jewelry. The learning targets for the soldering process are: I understand each type of soldering and can demonstrate each technique. I understand all safety protocols to protect my body and others during the soldering process. And I will use the solder to create a permanent solder connection on my current jewelry piece. There are 4 different basic types of soldering you will learn about in this video presentation. They are edge to surface to surface, and ring and bail. We will discuss what they mean and how to do them shortly. There are general soldering tips at the beginning of each presentation. As we move along from one soldering type to the next, we will skip past the general tips to make the start of class go a bit faster, but each video will include them just in case you arrive in class at an unusual time. If that is the case, the general presentation ends at slide 26 in each Google slideshow, and the video timeline would start with specific tips at 9 minutes and 45 seconds. The general tips are very important and very helpful, so you should watch them at least one time. You can watch the video here and complete each set of Cornell notes as we go through each type of solder. It's highly recommended that you take some notes so that you remember different things, and remember, you can always use the notes on the safety and tools quizzes we have later. As we start to talk about soldering, there will be some general soldering information we'll talk about first because it applies to all solder types no matter what type of soldering you're trying to create. First of all, for you science geeks out there, we are going to talk about the crystalline structure of metal. As you can see, there are different types. The ones on the left are the most malleable or bendable, and we will be working with those in class. What you need to realize about metal is that it's a substance that has more or less a shiny appearance, is a good conductor of electricity and heat, and can be melted, and are usually capable of being shaped. If you think about solids, liquids, and gases, you realize solids are the most dense in terms of anatomical structure, liquids are a bit farther apart, and gases are the most far apart. When metal is heated, it will eventually become liquid. Solder is a substance that melts before the metal does, allowing the solder to fill the spaces between the metal particles, as you can see here. When heat is removed from the solder solidifies, creating a permanent bond between metals at room temperature. When you solder, you have to put 2 pieces of metal together so there are no gaps. You can see the solder on top of the metal being red in this diagram. As the crystals expand, the solder flows between the crystalline metal structure by capillary action, and when heat is removed, the structure becomes solid, with the solder creating a bond between the 2 metals. Now we need to talk a bit about soldering safety. It's important to wear safety glasses and tie long hair back when soldering. It's also extremely important to have the exhaust fan running to remove any gas from the soldering area from the room. In addition to tying your hair back, you really need to pay attention to where your body is when you're soldering. This person didn't do that and burnt his hair because he got too close to the open flame. Additionally, I want you to notice his burnt eyelashes because he wasn't wearing safety glasses either. Don't let that be you. You should already realize this from the science talk earlier, but this is not electrical soldering or soldering with a soldering iron. That will not work for jewelry, as the connection will eventually let go because the metal was not heated thoroughly enough to create a strong bond between the surfaces. When we solder, we will be using a torch that has 2 adjustment knobs on it. The red knob is for gas and should be turned on first. It should be then lit with the striker. Once there is a flame, the green air knob can adjust the flame to whatever you need for the process you are trying to complete. These knobs work the same way that Dremels do. Remember, leftsy-loosey, righty-tighty when you are looking down at the soldering knobs. The hottest part of the flame is the tip of the inner blue cone. When you are soldering, you want to have the tip of the blue cone on your piece in order for the process to work. This next slide shows differences in flames that you need to know for both soldering and annealing. The flame on the top is a very soft flame, like the flame you use to start the torch, but with a little air, it's good for drying flux to get pieces to stick together so placing the solder on your work is easier. The neutral flame you see in the middle is much larger and louder than the first type, but it's still a loose flame. This will be good for annealing. The last type is a tight cone flame, which is important for soldering because it creates the most heat and is a very specific shape so you can see where you're heating your work. Another substance that is absolutely needed for soldering is flux. If you don't use it, your work will not solder. Flux not only helps the solder flow, but prevents some fire scale while you are soldering. Flux has silica in it, which are tiny glass particles. This means that you need to be careful in the soldering area because there may be sharp parts from people picking their work up off the equipment when it's still hot. This would pull the glass created to a point which could cut you. Other general soldering tips are using the right size flame for what you are doing. Larger flames that are quite loud are good for soldering larger things like edge to surface or surface to surface samples, and often many pieces, and smaller flames are used for soldering smaller pieces like the ring and bail samples or your bezel wire. You also have to pay attention to where the flame is on your piece so the solder will flow where you want it to go, and so that you don't accidentally melt your piece. Pieces also have to be completely free of oil and dirt and fluxed in order to solder. This means once you've sanded your pieces, you should not touch them with your fingers, even though you may have just washed your hands. There are technically microscopic dirt and oil that you can't see that will prevent your work from soldering. The first person to solder each day should turn on the exhaust fan when we start working. Make sure you heat the piece evenly in concentric circles until the solder flows. Remove the heat so the solder solidifies. We will then quench or dunk the piece in water using the steel tweezers that are in the soldering booth. These tweezers should stay in the booth so they don't accidentally contaminate the pickle. One thing to note here is that as soon as you quench the piece, your work is no longer hot, so you don't need to carry it to the pickle with the tweezers. Fire scale is really the bane of the jeweler's existence when soldering or finishing work. Fire scale is a form of oxidation, like rust, that can be removed with acid that is in the pickle pot. You have to be careful as it can become permanent if you overheat your piece an extreme amount. A couple of other tips to avoid fire scale are using a hit and run technique, meaning that you keep the flame moving in concentric circles to avoid heating the metal too long in any given area. It's also important to use the right size flame so you get the work done quickly and use enough flux so the solder is able to flow when it melts. Once there is fire scale on a piece, the only way to remove it is with pickle. Again, pickle is an acid, so you need to use the copper tongs or the pre-drilled pickle containers to place your work in the pickle. Pickle does work at room temperature, but works better with heat. Remember to keep the pickle pot on low so it doesn't boil, and always put the cover back on the pickle when you're finished retrieving your piece. Remember, boiling pickle is noxious, meaning it will kill you if you inhale it, so we have to be really careful to ensure that doesn't happen. This is done by turning off the pickle at the end of the hour and making sure it's on low every time you are near it. A few other pickle tips you need to know are how to remove pickle ionization. If anyone uses a steel tweezers to get their piece out of the pickle, it will change the solution to an ionizing solution, meaning any piece in the pickle will develop a layer of copper on the surface as free radicals in the solution bond with the metal you place in it. To remove excess copper from your work, you will need to create a new batch of pickle. Then take 1 container of hydrogen peroxide and a plastic spoon of pickle in a separate container and place your piece in it. Check every 5 minutes or so because once the copper is removed, you should take your piece out of the solution. If this seems like too much work, you can always sand the copper off, but it takes a lot more effort. The equipment needed for ring soldering is using the third hand. The equipment needed for bail soldering is going to be using the fire brick. This next slide is just a reminder that you need to make sure that the pieces are totally clean and totally flush before you try to solder them together, with no visible gaps. As you're ready to use solder, you want to sand the solder halfway up and create little fingers vertically up the piece and then cut them into little square pieces afterward. Now we're going to move on to the steps for ring and bail soldering. Notice again, you are going to want to stamp your name into the bail for sure. You may have to stamp your initials into the ring after you solder it, so just be aware of that. When you're creating the tube or ring, you want to file the edges to be joined so that they are completely flush. Next, create an oval shape with both sets of your pliers. You will have to bend the metal past where it needs to go in order to create tension to keep the pieces together when they are in the third hand. The pieces do need to be sanded, so you can sand them before or after bending, but you have to make sure you don't touch the area where the seam is going to be, or the piece will not solder. Next, you'll take a tweezers and put the ring in the third hand. Then take the flux brush, flux the tube or ring, and place one piece of solder across the seam. It should be on the inside of the bottom of the oval. Dry the piece with a feathery flame. Then use a 1-inch cone flame moving in concentric circles perpendicular to the piece. The solder should melt very quickly. If your ring melts, that means that you used too much heat and will have to start over. If you accidentally solder the ring to the third hand, get the instructor and he or she will be able to help you remove the work from the third hand. It will take 2 people to accomplish this task. Next, you're going to quench the piece in the quenching bucket with the steel tweezers and carry it over to the pickling area. Once the piece is pickled, you may need to take a file to file the little bubble of solder off of your piece before pounding it round on a ring mandrel. The last step in each process is to clean the work so the instructor can see your solder seam. This also means filing and sanding to ensure that no sloppy solder is left. This is practice for removing solder later on our final jewelry pieces because craftsmanship is a part of the professionalism we practice. Remember, you're going to need to take at least 2 images of each solder sample, 1 in process and 1 finished. That means 8 images total. To create the bail or pendant hanger, you need a square piece from the teacher desk and a wire. The wire will need to be shaped into a U and then cut with the cutting pliers and filed so the ends are flat. You then need to sand the piece and place it in the top of your tool tin so you don't touch it or get it dirty. Make sure that you have stamped your initials into the square and that it's completely flat before you try starting the bail. You also need to make sure that you sand up both sides, front and back, of the piece where you're going to connect the U shape to your square. Flux both sides of the piece and lay it on the flat area of the fire brick. Note that as the fire bricks get used, they sometimes are not totally flat because of excess flux. You may need to take a scraper to remove this in order to create your sample. Next, flux the wire U and place it next to the filed side of the square, making sure there are no gaps and that the pieces are not overlapped, as this is poor craftsmanship. I would suggest that once you have your piece in the correct position, that you use the drying flame to keep the pieces where you need them to be. Take the flux brush, pick up 2 pieces of solder and place them with the tweezers where the connections are. I would again suggest drying the flux until it bubbles up so the pieces do not move. Then you're going to change the flame to a 2-inch cone flame and heat the piece perpendicularly with the torch, focusing most of the heat on the square and moving in concentric circles until the solder melts. If you put too much heat in one area and close to the wire may melt and you will have to start that part over. You also may have to solder more than once because sometimes one side of the bail will solder and the other side, for a variety of reasons, won't solder. So you'll have to pickle the piece in between, get it set back up, and then try to resolder the other side. Once the piece is totally soldered, you're going to quench the piece in the quenching bucket in the soldering area with the steel tweezers. Then you're going to carry it over by hand to the pickling area and put it in the pickle with the copper tongs. You may want to use the pre-drilled cups for this, as it'll be easier to get your pieces in and out of the pickle that way. Like the other solder samples, the last step is cleaning up the seams and taking photos for your digital portfolio. Remember, craftsmanship is a part of professionalism, and this practice will help you understand what is expected for finishing actual jewelry pieces. Remember to take process photos and final photos of the solders so you can add them to your digital portfolio. You will need at least 2 images of each type of solder sample, which means you need 8 images total. Now that you are done with the solder samples, you'll also need to write reflections for how you adhered to the expectations of the assignment, as well as other things you learned from what you experienced. Once the work is cleaned up, put it in a baggie and in your locker until all the pieces are finished, and then submit them for credit along with your digital portfolio.